vulnerable to all kinds of scams, cons, and
I
Ponzi
never made
schemes.
that claim.
So listen, what I said, when someone gives you a personal testimony, there's a certain criteria or a filter that it needs to pass through in order for it to be considered legitimate, at least taken seriously enough to become legitimate. So what the story
And
you're
what's that
giving,
criteria?
I already told you, right? You need to make sure the person is in a mentally stable place, right? The evidence needs to be able to support the claim, right? So there's something empirical, something mind independent, and the character assessment of the person telling you the story. That's just like a basic criteria, right? If you was to
Okay,
walk
can you
down the
can you
street and someone just said to you, "Hey man, I just came from the park," and they were like elves jumping out of trees and shit, right? You're not expected, because I'm making a joke, you're not expected to take that seriously until given good reasons to take that seriously. Would you agree?
Okay, can you tell me on whether or not the person who wrote down Julius Caesar's existence was in the right mental state?
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's a red herring.
It literally does. You
That's
talked about
that's
that
a
as being
red
one of the
herring.
criteria.
That's a red herring,
You
right?
did, you listed that as one of your criteria. What are you
That's
talking
but is
about?
that has that got anything to do with the conversation where it is currently?
Because we're talking about the criteria for historical evidence,
No,
dude. What
no.
the
You
heck?
try to pivot to something
Yo, I
completely
love it when
different.
people. I love it when people
Are
say it's
you
a red
guys
herring when you bring up when you
are you
bring a
guys
defeater.
are you
Because I
guys
want to
hearing
answer the
this?
question.
That's not a defeater, bro. In the context of the conversation, pivot into Julius Caesar is silly. Like it has nothing to do with anything. Right?
How is I'm not talking about
So
who Julius Caesar
how is
was.
Julius Caesar analogous to three kids seeing an apparition?
Because we're talking about historical
Apparition.
data right now. We're not
No,
talking about apparitions. We're talking about
you.
whether the criteria
That
for
was the whole
historical
point of this
data.
conversation. What are you talking
That's
about?
later on. Okay, this is why I need to take it slow. I need to take it step
No,
by step with
no,
people
no,
like you because you
no.
like
Oh,
to jump ahead
people like
and like
me.
to no,
No,
no.
right? Slow down, right?
Yes,
You need to slow down. You're
because you
jumping
like to
ahead,
jump
right?
ahead.
You need
No,
to slow
okay.
down,
Were
right?
we or were we not talking about the criteria for historical data?
And yes, we were. Remember,
Okay,
what was the
good. So
reason
that
for that?
applies to any historical
What was
figure
the
whatsoever. Wait, I'm
reason?
building.
No,
I'm
no, it
building. I'm
doesn't. You're
building.
changing. This is what I'm saying. You're being dishonest, right? You're changing the conversation, the context of the conversation. So the context of the conversation is you presenting to me a story about what is claimed to be a miracle. That is not analogous to a historical person like George Washington or Julius Caesar, right? You're playing a nasty semantic game, right?
It's
That's
not semantics,
dishonest.
right? We're showing on whether or not your criteria for
No,
historical data is
I don't
consistent.
need you
It
to
needs to
do.
be
I don't listen. I
consistent.
don't need you to do internal critique of my worldview
I'm not,
or the
dude.
consistency of my worldview. When you are reporting to me something you claim to be supernatural, you and your beliefs are what
You
is in question
love,
in this
yeah.
context,
So
not
you're
me and
because
my
this is
criteria
what
for
this is what a lot of
history.
people who
Right?
yeah
You
this is
can
what a lot of
finish
people
the
like you who
story.
discuss on
You
TikTok
can
do.
finish the story if you would like, right? But keep in mind, as I said to you already, I will accept it as a story currently until I've got any reason to think it's legitimately real. Right? I said that. Right? You're the one that's just like, all over the place. You need to just relax.
Yeah, because you don't accept basic historical criteria. You're an ahistorian.
What are you
You don't
talking
even
about?
accept history.
So
Yeah, I
when
can
I
tell
said
you
to you
why.
earlier on, right?
Wait, why are you cutting me off, bro?
Because
I
I
just let you
can.
talk.
Because I can. Remember what I
Okay.
said to you earlier
Okay,
on
you
about
you can also do
history,
a backflip. Why aren't you doing a
right?
backflip?
Because I don't want to.
Okay,
Right?
so then why do you
But
want to cut me
remember what I
off?
said to you about history, right? From a philosophical view, history is an invention. Right? It's a concept, actually. Okay,
That's
but
fine. It's a
you telling
concept by
me,
which we use to
you
understand
accusing me of
things.
being ahistoric is you not being able to deliver any facts on the argument you're making. And I'm saying to you,
I gave you plenty of facts.
until I arrive at a reason to think this story is legitimate, I'm treating it as a story. That's what I said to you, right?
Okay, let's not even talk about the story because you don't even accept basic
Oh,
historical
see, you
criteria.
see, now you can't face up to what's being said here. So now you have to attack me and my
No,
view.
because I have no,
Right?
because you made
You're
the claim
terrible,
that
bro.
this
You're
thing.
tap dancing.
I'm terrible. Okay. I'm
You
not
are.
tap dancing because
Just finish
we
your
have to
story.
address we have to address certain no because you have to address
Oh
certain
Lord.
things before we can get to the story, right? You gave a basic historical criteria that you've given, right? Which is that
What was the
things are
historical
only
criteria?
historically yes. You said things are only historically attested if there's empirics backing it up, if we can
No,
determine whether or not the person writing it down was in the right mental state.
no, you're twisting my
You gave
words.
that's exactly what you
Right,
said.
so
Now you're running. Okay,
you're
that's fine.
mixing
Go
up
ahead.
my testimony criteria and historical criteria. That's what you're doing.
History is testimony. What are you
No,
talking about?
no, it isn't.
It
Right?
literally is.
Oh my gosh. Oh, what did I remember the example I gave you about someone coming up to you in the street and telling you they just saw elves in the park? Are the elves now a
Yeah,
part of
that's it.
history? Did that event actually occur because someone told you it did?
Yeah, I got you. Watch. I'll watch.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
The person claiming that the elves were real would be a claim that
Yes,
could be
that
part of
event,
history.
the event of the claim is a part of history, right? But is the event that's being talked about? Is the event that's being talked about a part of history?
necessarily.
Exactly, right? So stop playing games, bro.
Wait, so
Like
I'm
you're
talking about
actually
the
getting on my
claims that-
nerves.
Wait, I'm talking about the claims that the kid made, not the actual event
Yes,
itself
yes,
yet.
but you haven't even finished the story.
So that's history. So that's history.
You haven't finished the story.
Okay, so the kids claiming whether or not they saw apparitions or not, that's history, right?
It's a story.
It's history, right?
The reporting of the story is now history because it's documented via this
Good,
chat.
Thank you. So
But
the
it's
kids
a
actually
story.
did say these
Like the
things.
road to
Good,
El
okay.
Dorado
Okay, good,
is
good.
a story,
Good.
right? Like
The
Up
kids
is a
actually-
story.
okay, are the-
Like
wait,
Monsters
did the
Inc.
kids
is a
claim it was-
story. The
wait.
invention of Monsters Inc. is history.
We're getting
Okay?
somewhere. We're getting somewhere. Finally,
But currently we're talking about a story, right? Which is in question in the
Are
first
the kids
place.
claiming
Right?
that it's a fictional story?
Well, I have no reason to like think it's true yet. Do you know?
Okay, not you. I said, are the kids?
I don't. You haven't finished the story. We don't even know the context of
asking
it.
you on whether or not the kids are
Yo,
claiming it's a
bro,
fictional
who
story.
cares? Like, you haven't finished the context of the whole story.
cares?
So
Yeah, of course
you're
you would say
asking
who
me.
cares. You don't
No,
wanna discuss
listen,
it.
because you're
You're
asking me to
running.
agree to things.
Answer the question.
You're asking me to agree to internal things where you haven't even like discussed, like
You say
laid
you
out
don't
the
know.
map
I'm not
yet.
asking you to agree.
Bro,
You
look.
say you don't know.
You are asking me to get down in the minutia where we haven't even looked at the macro picture yet. What is the final part of the story? Like, why are we doing this? It doesn't make sense. Like,
No.
what
okay,
is
you
the
don't
story?
understand. You don't understand how abductive cases work. Right?
Maybe so,
You lay
right?
out-
Maybe so.
Why are you cutting me off, bro?
'Cause I
Are
can.
you genuinely scared of what I have to say?
No,
Okay,
because
fine.
I
If you're
can.
scared of what
It's
I
a
have to say, fine.
conversation, alright? Because I can, alright? But I don't want to, as long as you just, keep it normal, keep it civil.
That's fine, dude. I can't.
Alright.
I'm laying out. Look, okay, this is how abductive cases work, right?
Sure.
We lay out data and we see which hypothesis best explains the data.
That's what we're trying to get to.
Okay, good. So I laid out the data of the historical events of the interrogation.
No, you didn't
of the
finish
claims.
it.
I laid it out. Okay,
You
want
did
me to
not
repeat
finish
what I
it.
said? The children consistently describe the very same figure. The woman of extraordinary beauty who is intensely luminous, bright,
Mm-hmm.
white garments, gold accents. Like these are all historically attested claims that the kids are making.
Look, right. You can't seem to just tell the story of the miracle and then analyze it, right? You're trying to do both at the same time. Telling me about its historical evidence. Tell the story, right? Some three kids
Okay.
were in a field. They saw this woman, right? Only the kids could see it. Then we got to the kids were interviewed independently after, and their stories were corroborated between each other. That's as far as we've gotten, right? You thrown in it's a historical factor, like no, just
Okay,
relax.
you didn't-
Finish
you
the
didn't get everything
whole
correct, but
story.
I don't
right?
expect you. Okay, it's fine. So there's a couple things that you missed here, which is
God.
fine. Like I didn't expect you to remember everything perfectly. As
Oh,
I
thank
laid
you.
it out, right? So there's on May 13th was the original operation, which is when only the three kids were there. That was the original operation, right?
Cool.
But there were 6 more apparitions, which happened on the 13th of every single month for 6 months, except for in August, because they were arrested in August, right?
Cool.
So this happened more than once on a specific timeline. On
Cool.
a specific timeline.
Your
okay?
emotions aren't making it more believable. I hope you know that, right?
Well,
So,
I'm
so
laying
just
out
tell the
data.
story.
I'm exaggerating the
specific
data points
timeline.
yeah, that are most important that I'm actually
they're
expecting
not. They're
you to
not
cover
like
later
you're
on.
emphasizing things that aren't even that interested. That's what I'm saying to you. Just like
You're gonna
finish the
have to
story.
explain them if you have a
No, I
compelling
don't
hypothesis.
have to explain them, right? But let's hear the whole story.
Okay. They were interrogated separately immediately after the events. The children agreed on many details. We already went over all of that, right? So Lucia reports seeing the apparitions, hearing and speaking with the apparitions. Jacinta reports seeing her, hearing her, but not speaking to her. And Francisco reports seeing her, but not hearing her voice, right?
Well, you
And
kind
so
of
the
mumbled that.
message-
Can you say that bit again? The bit before Francesco.
I'm saying Jacinta reported seeing her and hearing her, but not speaking to her, the apparition. And Francisco reports seeing her, but not hearing her voice. And not speaking, obviously.
Oh, so,
So-
they had different experiences with the same woman, or it didn't all happen at the same time.
Right.
Okay, that's
No, it happened at the
interesting.
same time, it's just different experiences.
Oh, so you're saying they saw something different from each other then?
No, they didn't see anything different. But
Well, that's what it sounds like.
Francisco wasn't able to hear the voice.
So yeah, that means their experiences were different of the same event.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, but not Jacinta and Lucia's reporting of the event was the exact same. Jacinta just didn't talk.
Okay.
And then, but Francisco reported not seeing her, which is actually helps my case, first of all. Because if the kids were lying, they wouldn't come up with the stupid thing where Francisco couldn't hear her. Like, why would they come up with that if their entire goal was to
I
deceive
really
people?
do feel I read this story. It was in a book called Sacred History. But yeah, like I still want to hear the
Why?
story. Go for it.
No, yeah. And so the message, the alleged message that the kids were claiming she was bringing was calls to prayer, repentance, and then she brought prophecy and instruction and promise of a public miracle, right? So on June 13th, the second apparition appeared, um, and they showed up at the exact same location. And there was many people that showed up to see if they could see the apparition, but they couldn't, right? And in June there
Interesting.
was 50 people. In July there was 5,000 people. In September there was 20,000. In October there was around 100,000 people that showed up to try and see this apparition. And although they didn't observe the apparitions, they observed other physical phenomena that aligned with what the children were reporting, right? So like
What,
when they were
like what?
observing Lucia, okay, I was about to explain. Yeah, they were observing Lucia speaking out loud in a question answer format and even pausing as if waiting for a response, even though they couldn't see the apparition. They also reported
What the fuck?
Lucia. They also reported Lucia looking away, right?
You
Because
should
like I
walk
mentioned
past a
earlier,
bookies once or twice in life. You can see some people talking to things.
I have no idea what you just said. What did you say?
Doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, if you're saying stuff that doesn't matter, I mean, I don't even know what you're saying. It's fine.
Like,
Lucia was speaking.
who needed to hear it? Heard it.
Okay. Yes, there is photographic evidence, by the way, Ashton. And Lucia was speaking out loud. Or I already mentioned that. But like they also reported her looking away when discussing with her because the apparition was so bright, like they claimed. So they reported Lucia looking away because she was hard to look at because the apparition was so bright, right? Many witnesses also reported a cloud of smoke rising from the little tree that she reported the apparition was there, right? So Lucia was saying like the apparition's coming from here, and then they would see like smoke coming from a tree with no really naturalistic explanation,
Cool.
right? And then on August 13th, the day the children were prevented from going, like they weren't able to go because they were arrested. Witnesses who showed up anyways heard detonations, like loud explosions near the tree, making people panic.
Sounds suspicious.
Yes, but there was no actual explosions. They just heard audible explosions.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now that's sort of the relevant data, right? Regarding
Sure.
the testimonies. So what do you think about all of this, right? Do you think this can be
Well,
explained?
I think
by
it's
some naturalistic
interesting that the miracles ceased once the three people that only the three people that apparently could see it left the scene. I think that's interesting. It seems to be a bit dodgy. Right, but it's still all hinging ultimately on those three testimonies. And like you pointed out, the testimonies aren't even 100% consistent with each other. All three have different experiences of the same reported event, which would be consistent with a naturalistic view. So
Okay,
why should I think
so
there's
that's
anything supernatural actually occurring currently?
gotcha. Okay, so for you made two errors here. One of which is saying that it only hinges on these three testimonies, which isn't true whatsoever. We
No,
have
the
thousands of
primary
people.
the primary
Wait,
story
wait.
the primary story, right? The guests, the people who come to view the thing wouldn't be there had it not been for those three children. Are we clear
No,
on
there's
that?
more testimonies than the three children on seeing like very weird physical phenomena that
No,
align with
bro,
what the
you're
kids were
pivoting.
saying.
Listen, bro. The primary miracle was experienced by the three kids, right or wrong.
No, there's multiple quote unquote primary miracles that happen.
This event, the appearance of
If
the
you're talking
apparition, right, was experienced by three kids primarily. Correct or incorrect?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So stop trying to add like extra nonsense on top.
I'm not adding to it. That's not the primary miracle. The primary miracle of Portugal is the sun. There was a miracle of the sun, which I haven't even got to yet.
Yeah, I've heard about that one too, bro.
It's the
But
same one.
all right, cool. All right, that's very interesting. So that's I forget what it's called. Fatima, right? Is that it?
Yes, Our Lady of Fatima, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. So like I said, I've read about it already. Right? But remember the criteria I gave you for testimonies, which it all hinges upon. Now the event with the sun part, right? As far as I understand, I'm using a public definition of a miracle. It's something that breaks with the natural laws of the universe, right? And is done via divine intervention. The divine intervention piece of a miracle is very difficult to actually substantiate, right? But the breaking with the natural laws of the universe is quite explainable under naturalism, because what the laws of the universe are descriptions, okay? So when something takes place that seems to be outside of the bounds of the typical expected, for what's typically expected from the description, that possibility now gets updated. So the description on the laws of the universe, air quotation, now gets updated to account for anomalies, right? For instance, you could say, for 1,000,000 years, it would appear that gravity's been consistent. But on the 100th day, or on the first day of whatever year, on the 1,000,000th year, an event, a solar flare or some kind of thing happened in space and caused a fluctuation in the consistent gravitation that we've experienced for the past millennia. Just because that thing happened that was outside of the million years of consistent gravity, that thing happening doesn't automatically become supernatural. It's accountable, right? So it's you can account for it from the same descriptive tools used for the standard gravity. That's just as an example, right? So with the event that you're experiencing, Fatima's miracle in the sun, right, that is something celestial. And events in the past have been recorded, like eclipses, solar eclipses, meteor showers, strange alignments of planets. Those things are completely possible within naturalistic explanation. So that's what I would say, right? I'm saying from that point of view, you're pointing to something that's in our natural world. So the point of what I was trying to make, the overarching point is, when the event occurs, unless you can demonstrate the divine intervention portion of it, it does have a naturalistic explanation, right? It gets added into the descriptive laws of the universe.
No, that's not how I would even describe naturalistic explanations. Like, obviously, you believe there are some physical impossibilities, right?
Me? Do I think that?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Currently, but like I said,
Okay, good.
the event,
what?
when the event happens, the descriptive laws would update for the event to
It
account
wouldn't be an
for the
impossibility then.
event. It's impossible until it occurs.
What? Then it wouldn't be impossible because
Alright,
it's
so
impossible.
I don't know if I can think of an analogy on the fly, right?
No. Let's just deal with the
What
language.
we
When something
yeah. So the
weighs
language is a part of it, right? When you consider something,
impossible, what does that mean?
it's not possible.
Good. So if it's
Right.
possible, then it wouldn't be impossible.
Right, but it's not possible based
Okay,
on
so
the
if
data.
somebody didn't
Listen,
do it yet,
listen
is it still
clearly.
possible?
Listen clearly. It's not possible based
is
on the
ridiculous.
data you currently possess. Right. So let's say
That's not what impossible means.
in language, yes, it does, right? So let's say you have a limited understanding of maths currently, right? Your limited understanding of maths would lead you to believe that this higher level calculation is impossible because you've not been presented. Listen, right? In the context of humans, this is correct. Until you've been presented with the information that allows for that higher level function of maths, it is to you impossible. Just like the saying, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable to magic, right? Because you do not have the understanding to comprehend said thing. So to you, it's impossible, but to someone else, it's quite explainable, right? And it's a reality. So I'm saying to
We're not
you,
talking about.
we are operating from an anthropocentric point of view. You love that one, right? A human-centered view. So our descriptions are coming from human minds. The laws of nature, the laws of the universe are human descriptions. So when something happens that breaks with the typical description, the description gets updated. So now it's possible because it happened, right? That's what I'm saying to you.
If it happened.
If it doesn't happen, it remains impossible.
No,
if it
that's not
does
answering the
happen,
question. That's not
if
what
it
answering the
happens,
question.
it is now possible.
That's not answering the
You
question.
are slow, bro. I don't mean to be
It's not-
offensive,
you don't
but,
even understand.
bro.
You don't understand what possibility means. You don't have
Look,
to do
you-
it in order for. No.
Listen,
You don't have to do
listen,
something in order
if
for it
you
to
want to
be
pivot,
possible.
if you want to pivot to philosophical modes, that's a different conversation. But basic linguistics, right? If something happens,
That's what do- oh
if
my
something happens and happened, it is possible because it happened. If said thing cannot happen, it remains impossible. The moment the
Can't
thing
is a modal
happens,
term.
okay, thank
You
you.
understand?
Thank
You
very
understand
much.
physical. You understand?
Thank you,
You're gonna run. That's
I
fine.
I
You
am
understand-
because this is really silly.
No, you understand physical is also a mode.
What do you look? So when I pointed to philosophical modes, right? I'm talking about contingent, necessary, and possible. That's what I'm pointing to. A pop philosophy view.
Those are not modes.
A pop philosophy view, right? Not a non-philosopher view. Okay, that's what I was mentioning when I said philosophical modes. Okay, that's what I
Modes
was
refers
mentioning.
to the category by which a thing is possible.
Yeah,
There's
but
logical
I just told you.
impossibility,
I told you
physical
what I was
impossibility,
referencing. I told you what I was
mathematical
referencing.
impossibility.
I told you what I
Okay,
was
but
referencing.
you-
So
you
don't
said-
make a
okay,
don't
you
make a mess of
specifically
this.
said you said
Don't
there
make a
are
mess of
physical-
this.
Okay,
The
then let me
moment
explain it
a
to you.
thing,
I can
the
help you
moment
understand.
no, You're trying to like dodge, right? The moment a thing happens, right, it is now possible because it occurred, right? If it doesn't and cannot happen, it remains impossible. Is that clear?
No, I disagree with that. That's clear, but I disagree with it.
Nice day to you then. All right. That's just it's going nowhere. All right. Feel free if anyone else wants to call up, go for it. 'Cause I'm not gonna argue about something so silly, man. All right. So we've done this once now. Let's move on, shall we? Aston, you can't come up, bro. You're friendly. You can't. You can't, bro. It'll become a panel. I'm sorry. Sorry to treat you that way, Aston. I do love and appreciate your support, though. You can't, man. We try. I said, but you. We've tried that before. You forget how other streams have gone when we've let our friendlies. It becomes a chat room and it can derail conversations very quickly. So I've made a commitment to not do it like that. The game is. Ah, my bad, bro. My bad. What do you want to say? Like, you're making me feel bad now. Nah, I'm not gonna bend. Pause. Nah, but yeah, making me feel bad now. Don't do that, bro. Just say it in the chat. All right. So yeah. Anyways, so. Right, anyways, I'm saying humans invented God. All known gods are psychological constructs and do not exist independently of the mind. If your God requires belief, imagination, or faith to interact with, it's functionally non existent. It requires that somebody devises a concept of God and imparts that concept of God to you in order for you to interact with it, or you yourself must devise a concept of God in order to interact with it in some meaningful way. Aston says many witnesses there claimed not to see any miracle. Okay, that is important. He says just about this miracle, I've just looked at the evidence and it's shocking. Many witnesses there claimed not to see any miracle. I'm really not surprised. I do feel like I've actually read about that in like I said, there's this book. Like again, this is before like I came into like understanding things I know now. Not saying that I'm really smart or I know anything new, but I read this book prior to the position I'm in now. But the book's called Sacred History, so like through it, it's just like story, it's like anecdote, it's like an anthology of supernatural or spiritual stories by different people across the world, and I'm pretty damn certain that that story you was telling me is in there. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. As I said, I am naturally not a very trusting person, right, for my own reasons, but if someone is making a claim about something that's according to them is supernatural, it's doubly dubious to me in comparison to them making a claim about something that exists in our natural world that we all can really point to. So the point I make before is like, I have the whole spiel about being a believer is to be in a catch-22. The more you define God, the less likely it is to exist based on what would be expected from it. The less you define God, the more synonymous it is with non-existence. So that also establishes where you're going to be in terms of searching for evidence for God. You're either going to take a rationalist approach, which is almost purely philosophical. You're going to take an empiricist approach, which is going to depend heavily on biblical explanations of gods. Okay. So that being said, when people say to me, what would be my evidence criteria, one of those things is that it needs to transcend cultures and religion. So it can't be a specific claim by a specific religion. Otherwise, we're not really talking about like a universe level entity here. We're talking about a specific local deity and an interpretation of that deity. So that's why I don't take those kinds of miracle testimonies seriously. The game is Elden Ring, bro. You should be able to tell by looking at it. Some dude. Sounds like cool stuff. The other day, if you guys were in the stream the other day, and I was trying to find the word specifically, you're gonna laugh at this. The word specifically that the Marquis de Sade guy was saying was the only sin in nature. It is cruelty. That was what it was. It came to me earlier on. So according to him, which was quite a hedonist, according to him, the only sin was cruelty. Hey, Aston, don't take it personally, bro. I appreciate you, though. I'm not some dude personally. I think I take a mixed approach to morals and ethics. I don't. Like, I'm not necessarily a relativist either. There are some things I am strict on and I won't budge on. And there are some things I make allowances for. So it really depends. I think I I judge cases. Like I try to apply different frameworks based on the case itself, rather than saying, right. So how can I put this another way? Right. So to some philosophers, they would say morals and ethics are, they inform each other, but they're not exclusively the same thing, right? So morals are something that they're your internal rules or your internal feelings about things. Ethics are the frameworks that can be addressed externally, separate to you. But to me, I believe ethical frameworks inform morality, and morality informs ethical frameworks, vice versa. Other people would disagree. But for instance, if someone presents to you like a trolley problem with like three workers on one track, one worker on the other track, most people will say, all right, now I'm really presenting you like a problem of utilitarianism ultimately, right? You're going to save the greatest number of people, or aren't you, kind of thing. But I would say any case that's presented to you as like a moral quandary, you're well within your rights to go, actually, I'm going to address this from ethics of care, or I'm going to address this from egoism, or I'm going to address this from, I forget the others, so and so on and so on. Right? I don't think anyone is required to be pinned to a specific set of moral principles, although that's what morals are thought to be. I believe morals update based on your information. That's just my opinion. Not all people though, some do. That's the thing. We're operating on assumptions that people have like the same internal functions or world that we do, or value the same things that we do, and it's not generally true. Just like people operate on on the view that every human is innately rational, which isn't even true. So there's that. I don't know the one, but you're more than welcome to come up and talk to me about it. It's the biggest PC sim ever made. I promise, I almost had a break with reality the other day. I was just thinking about it. I was like, you know what? This is actually quite ridiculous. What is this? What is this thing? Well, I'll tell you what, if no one else wants to come up in the next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to go and enjoy some personal time. Oh, Red Hat people, I forgot you were there. Voltaire, he's quoting. Well, we did beat A-Boss, so there's some progress. I kind of enjoy watching sunsets. I enjoy watching birds fly around. I kind of enjoy watching large bodies of water slosh back and forth, to and fro. What else do I enjoy watching? I enjoy watching complex machinery function and move. I enjoy watching pixels rearrange themselves on my screen in different forms. I enjoy watching the female anatomy in various situations. I enjoy watching various things, right? So what's the question really? It's like, what is the question really? Cupboard? No, I'm not an ex-Christian. This channel isn't like about atheism. Well, the channel that you're watching isn't about atheism. Nothing I do is really about atheism. No, I never said. I see where your mind's gone, right? So like Wesley, that was an expression of your own internal world. I said I enjoy watching the female anatomy in various different situations. Okay. See where your mind went. That's on you, right? But not to say that Arsenal's not a good team. Arsenal's pretty good at it. So, You meant TVs, shows, or movies. I don't know. I always find it hard to just pull out a title from nowhere. 'Cause there are things I watch that I value in the time when I watch them, and then like almost immediately after they just are no longer relevant to me. So you just kind of stop mattering. Hey yo, hey yo, bro. That's crazy. Hard jelly would be like gelatin. There are different viscosities of jelly though, so there is that. But yeah, you lost what? Shroud of Turin. That's funny. What are you talking about? Oh, feel free to request up. Worst Spider-Man streamer on TikTok. Crazy talk, bro. Can't be that bad. Can you give an example of that? uh, Whoa, that's kind of deep, bro. What do you mean? How did a river give you insight to asteroids? It's kind of deep. Did you have like a my boy had an Isaac Newton moment, bro. What do you mean? What even came from that? Ice doesn't turn to jelly though. Not as far as I know, unless you've really like frozen something with that kind of quality. Bro, Jesus is just a normal guy, man. Like, I truly do think if a God exists, like, we effed up big time by letting humans make the Abrahamic faith. I think that would also be considered, like, one of the most offensive things we've ever done as a group of species, or a species. It's crazy. Chicken skin does. Does it? That's fat, though. Fat would do that, in general. I think that's fat you're talking about. Or maybe talking about something else. Yeah, obviously, just like, why are we talking about like basic school level science now? What are we even doing right now? What's my argument? I don't really have an argument. My position is all known gods are psychological constructs and do not exist independently of the mind. I have a hypothesis on the statement on the screen that humans invented gods. Basically, I haven't said this in a while actually. There are basically three phases to the hypothesis. Right? The first phase of God invention is humans using what's called hyperactive agency detection device to assign agency to elemental and celestial things. The second phase of God creation is humans deifying internally generated concepts, abstract concepts like love, war, creation, justice into deities, embodying them. And the third is anthropomorphizing, so like taking human features and slapping them onto the other two concepts. So there are reasons. The first phase is done primarily out of survival. The second phase is done to give certainty where there's uncertainty, basically psychological benefits. And the third reason is done for societal cohesion. So if we organise ourselves around gods, it makes for right. So first we have to organise ourselves around humanoid gods, but it makes for easier mobilisation. So if you wanted to try and formulate that into an argument, I'd be willing to listen to it. You get ChatGPT to formulate it for you. So what do you think about things in motion in space never ceasing? What do you think about that, Walls? Because, I mean, unless that asteroid collides with something, it should essentially keep going on forever. Do I tackle life? Well, do you know what? I do actually think life comes from non-life, though. I think abiogenesis is true. I think, ironically, even if I was to believe in a god, I'd still have to believe that life can come from non-life. So this is the irony. I could just take like a really like based, or should I say a basic view, like a monist type of view, and say everything is ultimately one thing. There is no differentiation. That's a psychological illusion. So everything is a form of matter, a materialist monist view. So if we are all just different organizations, like different configurations of matter, then it would stand to reason that life could come from non-living matter. Right? So living matter can come from non-living matter. And if you was to say there's a disembodied mind, meaning a great spirit, like a deity, a cosmic deity, which doesn't have a physical body, then non-living matter or non-living things can create living things, because that mind wouldn't be considered living by the standards of anything material. So either way you slice it, you're gonna arrive at non-living things given life. Either way you cut it, right? I don't know, it might sound kind of dry, but you don't need to be able to observe it. You don't actually need to be able to observe it. There are things you can reason to. Right, so God, right, by like a classic standard, is not a living thing. So for something to be living, again, it's a human description. It has to have a metabolism. It needs to be able to grow and adapt, and it needs to be able to reproduce, right? And it must, by virtue of living, die. So since if you ask any standard person, like just random person, if their god can die, if their god reproduces, if their god has a metabolism, if their god has kids, they're likely to say no to all of those things, meaning that god then doesn't meet the criteria of being alive and living. So for you to then go and say that god created life and gave life to everything else, you're committed to the fact that life has to come from something non-living. Whereas if you could just like be a bit more materialistically minded, you can just say actually, via the Big Bang, however you slice it, ekpyrotic, classic view, right? You get the formation of matter, or like, well, that's not actually true. Actually, that's not actually how that happens. I'm not a scientist, by the way. But put it this way, you get the forming of early Earth, space dust becoming pulled together by gravity. Basically, there's a word for it. It's not aggregate, but it's like that. Other formations carrying different chemicals, those colliding, creating early Earth, as we heard about it, as we know it. That giving rise to the first forms of life via those different variations of chemicals. It's literally just different pieces of matter meeting the right criteria or conditions to produce something different. It's just chemistry. So essentially, that is more plausible than a immaterial, disembodied mind creating matter from nowhere. The doctrine of a disembodied mind or a god producing everything from nothing is called creatio ex nihilo. That's actually a thing that some people believe. Now, not all God believers believe that God made everything from nothing. Some God believers think that God just took already pre-existing matter and shaped it into the universe we live in now. But do you know what? Do you know what's at the source of all of that? It's just people's beliefs. It's not something you can prove in any hard, consistent way. So I would take the abiogenesis explanation. It's up to you what you want to do. But look, it's like an hour now, so no one else to talk to. Guy wants to tell me fairy tales about Fatima. I can't be asked. Like, shit. Maybe tomorrow we'll come and talk. No, that's it's not a category error, right? What you're doing is called it's question begging, right? For you to say I'm telling the author how to write the story, or like telling the author to abide by the story, you're presupposing that the author actually exists and is capable of writing a story. That's question begging, right? It's like saying a painting has a painter. A game has a game maker. That's the question begging, right? When you try to translate that onto the universe, you're saying God already exists and made everything. You're not presupposing, right? Your conclusion is in your premise already, kind of thing. If that makes sense, right? So when you say I'm not with it, right? It's been a while since I talked about this shit. It's like 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a long time to me. But yes, like, you're essentially question begging by saying God is the author. Right? God is what's in question. So we can't say he already exists and he already made things. We're trying to figure out that's the case, if that's the case. Yeah, it's not a matter of presupposing. It's just almost. I was gonna say something ridiculous, but it's just a higher probability, right, that God doesn't exist than the probability that he does, right, and a specific type of God as well, right. So if you start looking, if you like want to blow this picture out a bit more, right, you could say the universe has a creator, our planet and our life specifically has a designer with intention behind it, and that thing still not be God, ultimate God. Right, that's how like ridiculous this could go. You could say there's a spirit, there's a ghost, there's an alien that created our galaxy and our universe as an experiment, and that belief would be just as valid, if not more probable, than the big G God that runs the whole scheme. Specifically the alien as well, right? Another material type of life form would be highly significantly more probable than a disembodied mind doing it. So it gets really ridiculous if you're not just like gonna like lock in on one thing and look at the world for what you can understand, because then we could just say anything, right? Keebler elves are producing magic eggs which produce cars when no one's looking. Can you disprove that? You know, like, can you account for every car you've ever seen? Do you know who made every car you've ever seen? No, you cannot. Like, so it can get ridiculous. Yeah, so I don't take intelligent design to be a fact. I think intelligent design is an opinion and a belief. It's not science. It's what people would consider pseudoscience. Humans are what are described as pattern recognition machines. We love a good pattern, right? You need to look up something called apophenia. Right? It's when people see things that are apparently connected to them, which aren't actually connected, and they use these like insignificant plot points to draw out a larger picture in their mind, but in reality it's completely inconsistent. The view of intelligent design is kind of like that, right? But the point of intelligent design, you're referencing a human's mind. You're presuming that the universe functions as a human perceives it. You're presuming the noumena is the phenomena, when it's probably not. It's quite unlikely, okay? So intelligent design is literally us trying to categorize things into nice, neat boxes and saying, oh, when we create machinery, we do it with such precise mechanisms and stuff that it must work the way we intended for it to function. The universe has patterns, has consistency, therefore there must be somebody that's created it to be so. But that's not a matter of fact, that's a matter of belief and opinion. Because there are things that don't seem to be created or designed in any like, let's say, sufficient or efficient type of way, shall I say, efficient type of way. There are things that just don't make sense about the natural worlds that bring any kind of designer into question. A silly one that I like to bring up all the time: why consume life in order to sustain life if the designer had it in its plan for everything to have a you know, not necessarily a happy life, but in order for there to be some kind of consistent harmony across the board, minus suffering? Why does life need to consume life in order to sustain itself? Things like that. Suffering, right? Like as Alex O'Connor would put it, gratuitous suffering. Like those kinds of things F up the design kind of thing. And then you could get more scientific. Why this specific nerve is placed there in a giraffe. Like all kinds of stupid shit. You'd be like, well, yeah, like why would a designer do that? Why would a designer say, you know what? I've created men, I've created birds, I've created lizards. Now let me create this blood-sucking parasite that destroys everything anytime it emerges. Like, those things don't seem to be consistent. But they're ridiculous points, I'm saying, but the overarching point is intelligent design is an anthropocentric view. It's a human projecting human values and traits onto the universe, saying because I think in this form, the universe must correlate to the form that I think it, instead of observing the universe for what it is. Yeah, which who's to say, right? Could be designed, could not be, but it's not provable currently. But anyways, I think yeah, leave them Keebler elves alone, bro. I don't actually know what a Keebler elf is. I heard it one time on Def Comedy Jam, and it's been there forever. But yeah, ultimately the patterns are us projecting onto it. For instance, right, the only frame of reference you have for design, right? Design itself isn't something that, design itself is an abstract concept. It doesn't actually exist in the world, okay? But the only reference you have for the concept of design is when you observe a human making a conscious an intentional action to do something with a specific outcome intended, right? So in other words, the only frame of reference for design that any human has is another human. Okay? It's something that we cooked up. So if, by my hypothesis, gods are an invention of humans, that anthropocentric capability of creation, intelligence, and design is something that we would have attributed to the god, right? Essentially, we're projecting our characteristics onto the god and saying because humans are capable of design, God must be capable of design, right? There are so like an interesting kind of view on this, right? Who is it that said it? Nietzsche, right? I think in Twilight of the Idols, God must also be a songstress or he must also make music, since him and I think maybe Schopenhauer thought it was the highest fine art known to man. Music is just completely transcendent, so God must be a musician. Okay, that kind of shit is what I'm talking about, right? We take this thing that we can do and we project it into other things and say that it must be the case because we're capable of it, right? So there's that. Knicks in 4. Should we have a quick natter before we cut it off? Go on, we'll give it 20 minutes maybe max. See what you have to say.
Yo, what's up, bro?
How you doing, bro? Hello? Hello? Oh, bro's gone into the void. He's muted and he doesn't have a camera all of a sudden. Alright, I guess we're not having Knicks in 4. Knicks in 4, I'm gonna give you 25 seconds. Nah, not interested in the Bible. Right, there's so many other books to get through. I truly tell you every day. Do you know, actually, I went to a Coptic church the other day. There, I met a man who was an Egyptian, according to him, but he said, I'm Egyptian from the Middle East, and I had to pull him up. I said, do you mean from Africa? And he's like, it's like, yeah. While at the Coptic church, right, I observed the incredible decadence and all of the luxurious money poured into the building. And then I observed the surroundings of where the church is located. Guess what? It wasn't. Right? But anyways, that's just me being a dick. But yes, there are Coptic churches in England. Who would have known? No, I don't have to, right? A claim that humans invented God has little to do with religion. Right? Religion is a secondary or a subset of the conversation of theology in general. Okay, so you've got Buddhism, you've got Hinduism, you've got Zoroastrianism, you've got Manichaeism, right? You've got Islam, you've got Judaism, ism upon ism upon ism, and they all have their own doctrine, they all have their own philosophy. Should I indulge in all of them in order to discuss the macro topic, which is God? No, I need not. Right, I need not do that. I've got so much other more important things to read and know. Right now, for some people, they think yes, if you want to talk about something, you need to be informed in it on all angles. Me personally, I don't take that approach. I take information as it comes when it's relevant. Because at present, I'm the type of person that's walking around with a bunch of useless information about a bunch of things I'll never get to speak about. And the Bible will be another one of those things, okay? So I'd prefer not to, right? I'd prefer not. and then there's that, right? Understanding the history of the institution, which is Christianity, I think I'd be doing myself a disservice and the history of what Christianity is perpetuated upon people who look like me and come from where I come from, to actually indulge in their scriptures and their doctrine beyond an interaction, a personal interaction with a human. A personal interaction with a human. Now I'm willing to talk to them about the things they believe and why they believe it, and even support it with the tidbits and the nuggets that I do know about their religion. But will I actually get down in the muck and the mire with them in their religion? Hell no. Hell no. That's not for me. Same be said for Islam, for Judaism, for Buddhism, etc., etc. I'll get a surface level understanding. If I think a specific topic is worthy of going into, then I will study the specific topic within the context of the religion, which I have before. But will I actually go and indulge in a religion? No, right? Yeah. Do you ever see that that meme of the guy who's like, he was so far right? It's a movie actually, right? I think it's called Four Lines or something like that. He was so far right that he ended up an Islamist extremist because he had to get into the mind of these people, and then he became one of those people. Okay, so like bad ideas are bad ideas unilaterally, right? They some things will actually poison you, right? Too much interaction with dumb people can have a negative impact on your intelligence, or at least your ability to articulate your thoughts, okay? Same can be said for too much interaction with bad doctrine, bad ideas. They will cloud your judgment on things that are more important, okay? But that being said, you can read whatever the hell you want to read, right? I ain't reading that shit. And I got copies of it. So there's that. Alright. It hasn't been a year yet, but glad you're keeping the score, bro. So anyways, I don't think anyone else is going to come up. It's a shame for Knicks. But, damn. It's, again, if I could possibly go back in time and like tell younger me, hey, go study this, go read this, go like look at that, it would change the bloody world. Right? Not just me, I mean like anybody, right? I think if we had access to, right, so not to get like too, oh, he's a leftist, right? Maybe I am, right? Maybe I'm not. I haven't decided yet. But if we actually had access to the tools for education, right? And in order to get access for the tools for education, you need to actually combat inequality and all the actual real economic and materialist problems in the world in order to get a good education for any random kid growing up on a council estate. Because it's not promised and afforded to you, right? Like the old saying is a man afforded or promised a good father? No, just a father, right? That's a paraphrase from Enchiridion, right? So no, you're not guaranteed a good father, but just a father in order for you to exist. And the same thing can be said about education. You're not guaranteed a good education, but just an education, okay? That being said, we are in the West, specifically people from lower income economic backgrounds, and like, let's say racial histories, right? We are actively steered away from these educational tools and towards things like religious text for a reason, okay? So if you could have slapped a philosophy book in a young child's hand instead of a religion or a science book or a maths book or, an English textbook, anything that will give them the tools to know how to think critically before engaging with fantasy and doctrine, you would save their life. Right? Whereas the world is like, no, let's give them the fantasy and the doctrine before we give them the tools to think, right? So what happens now, they will never be able to engage with the tools to think because they've already got they think the fantasy and the doctrine are the tools. They're not the tools, okay? The people who know this love to have you, like, they love the circulation of religiosity because it keeps people docile and frankly just believe in silly things. And your beliefs determine your reality on many different levels, okay? Now, if you was to like take the long way around, right? Say, all right, one day in my life, I'm going to study religion. I'm going to study religious texts. But first, I need like a good understanding of epistemology, ontology, like, various different sectors of philosophy. I need a good understanding of just like basic science. I need a good understanding of basic maths, basic English. And then I'm going to tackle the extracurricular subjects of faiths, all right? But you know what? I'm going to tackle the extracurricular subject of faiths through a sociological view, through a psychological view, through an economical view, through a political view, rather than engaging with it as a believer would. Okay? You would gain way more value from it that way. Because if you come in at the level of the religion, then you're walking into a pyramid scheme from the early ages of your life. Some people make it out, some people don't, so I would recommend finding anything first before you come to the religious text, so it'll give you a better shot at making something useful from it. It's my opinion, though. But it's just that, an opinion. So that being said, it's time for me to shut up and let you scroll on by. Oh, I think there's good reasons, right? Now someone says I'm really interested, right? There are lots of good reasons why people might convert as an adult, right? I think a lot of those reasons come from sociology and psychology, meaning your surroundings, your material, political and economic realities, your material realities, okay, so like your finances, your housing, where you live, your geographical location, the geopolitics that surround you at the time. Perfect example of this, right? So if you look at how England is functioning currently, I say England as the UK, we've got a very real, well, it's not real, it's not like it's new, right? But a reintroduced kind of incursion of far right totalitarianism, authoritarian thinking, okay? And what benefits that totalitarian, authoritarian thinking is what's known as conservative or traditionalist structures. Where will you find conservative and traditionalist structures, right? In religion, okay? Whether you're going to become a Catholic or you're going to become a Protestant, right? Both make use of that same foundation. Now, the far right, all right, well, just the right in general, like, is a spectrum, of course, right? The right in general thrive on pre-existing systems, which they can come in, hijack, and use for their own agenda. The left does it too, but let's say the far right will weaponize the system itself and the tradition of the system, whereas the left will weaponize the morality of the system or how the system appears in the context of society. Right? So they both making use of these systems. But like I said, why would an adult convert? Depending on their social, geopolitical, economic condition, right, where they're living, the times they're living, what the politics of the day is, or the zeitgeist of the day, that would inform their decision to gravitate towards certain groups. And a prerequisite to be in certain groups is that you need identifiers, right, or signifiers. I am white male Protestant or Catholic XYZ. The white male Protestant or Catholic gets me into this door specifically, leads me into this pipeline specifically. Intentional sometimes, unintentional other times, but it's coding, it's cultural coding. Now, that's like on a broad scale. On the individual scale, person might have just gone through a breakup. Person may be like, a little lack personality and they're just like, just following other people, right? Following, just typical shit. They lack personality, so they just adapt anything that's around them, right? Person might have had a spiritual experience. Person might have had a death in a family or whatever. And that cultural leaning will tell them, hey, when this thing happens in our culture, we pivot to religion, we pivot to spirituality. So it's the norm set up for them to go down that funnel. So average person experiences a breakup, goes to the gym, starts getting spiritual, thinking, all right, this is the patina, right, of what it means to be a good person. So I need to appear morally upstanding. I need to be able to fit in with this group of people. So I have to identify like this. Reasons to convert. Whether you believe the shit or not matters little. On the individual level, someone might go from a philosophical point of view and be like, all right, I need some kind of epistemic grounding to my worldview, which I'm comfortable with, and they say, I don't want to go at like just pure rational reasoning. I want to be an idealist and I want to invoke ideas of the spirit and the will, and these kinds of things. And that would take them to that place. That's not everyone. It's like a small minority of people. So I think fundamentally why people still convert as adults is mostly because of their sociology, how they're like acclimated with the people around them, the economy, the politics, the groupings, right, and the actual psychology of that individual, right, how their mind functions, the patterns they've been indoctrinated to follow, right, and whether they've examined them and broken them at any point. If you right, so an old saying is, no one is immune to propaganda, right? If you think you're immune to propaganda, you've already been propagandized, okay? So that being said, copious amounts of groups have mobilized via propaganda, let's say, religious thinking, right? How many times in your life have you heard like God willing, God bless, or like the love, like all of these kinds of coded languages are just, you take for granted, but you forget where they come from. But because those coded languages are seeded, whether it's like white supremacy or, like misogyny, whatever, right? All of those coded languages are in so many different pieces of propaganda you interact with all the time that your subconscious has this background system running at all times, which leads you or funnels you to certain places at certain times. So whether you're actively aware of it or not, someone's kind of pulling the puppet strings on you, right, at all times. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people who are free of that. I haven't met one. I don't think I am either, right? But the chances of you in 2026 having all the information in the world accessible to you and still deciding to convert to a religion speaks more to your social conditions and your psychology rather than the truth of the religion itself. Right? That's my opinion, because there's too much information out here to be this ignorant. in my opinion, right? It's too much information. Nah, that's untrue, Jermaine, right? There's no Right, so just like I'm trying to draw a line for you, right? Just like slavery becomes feudalism, feudalism becomes capitalism, etc. Misogyny and like misogyny is one of those stepping stones, right? So misogyny will be found in monarchy, it'll be found patriarchy, it'll be found in theocracy, etc. Politics, all the way up the chain. Misogyny is in there too. Okay, so it's not you saying like I ain't ever used misogyny. That's ridiculous, right? That's to even think you can say that is part of the same misogyny. Is like I can't really explain it. Like I'm just yapping out at this point. But you're not immune to it. Okay, that's all I'm trying to say. Right? The things that lead up to Jermaine event being Jermaine the event are informed by misogyny in the same way the things that lead Jermaine event to be who Jermaine event is probably informed by some level of fascism or some level of communism or whatever it is. Okay, like some say fascism, communism are two good brothers, right? But all of these things are intertwined. They're baked in at some level. So to be able to say that you've never, it's like you would have to be an automaton. You would have to be in a bubble your whole life and completely isolated from humanity to never have been misogynistic, right? Or as a woman, never expressed misandry, right? You'd have to be completely isolated from human experience as a whole. And I don't think you would be if you're here on YouTube speaking to me, okay? But yeah, I'm not really explaining what I mean. So it's time to go. Oh yeah, for sure, we all got biases. But anyways, Jesus is certainly not a god. Bro, do you like Alright, so there's like, how can I explain this, right? So there's like hard misogyny, right, which is like the disdain for women and girls, right? Then there's like soft misogyny, like subconscious bias. Okay, you don't have to say like you have to go out and punch a woman to be misogynistic, right? You don't have to call her a slur to be misogynistic. You would just prioritize things in such a way that expresses misogyny, right? Now, I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not necessarily like an action you have to take, right? It could be an inaction. Okay? It's so that's the best way I can explain it to you. It's not like bro's like, there's no woman I can never say I done misogyny to her. No, that's like that's not how that works, right? But anyways. Hey, bro. You should not be on YouTube, Corey. Should be working. But anyways, appreciate you, mate. That being said, it's time to bounce. I think. Like you're lucky I don't ban you, bro. Like, why are you sneaking on the internet? Like, what are you doing? Really and truly. I'm joking. Alright, anyways. I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed something. Yes, Hitler and Mother Teresa are most definitely in the same place. Okay, there's. All right, so go look up Christopher Hitchens when he talks about the things that Mother Teresa sanctioned in the Africas, I think it was, with those makeshift clinics, right? And what are they called again? Hospices, right? So places for people who are dying from like serious cancers and stuff like that. The things that she was the head of, all of the embezzled money Mother Teresa was given by war criminals. Do you know how close the Catholic Church and war criminals are in our history, right? They are hand in hand, arm in arm down the road, right? So there's a book called Talk of the Devil, right? And in this, it's basically an Italian investigative journal, and he goes around and speaks to like dethroned, what do they call themselves? Dictators, okay? Nearly all of them, right, were offered immunity and shelter via the Catholic Church. Some of them took it, okay? So every dictator that committed an atrocity in the last 100 or so years had links to the Catholic Church, okay? Think about that shit. Anyways, yeah, so yeah, they're probably in the same place. And Hitler did fuck with Catholicism. So there's that. But anyways, I'll see you later.